Come on, Jamie. Make us proud.
I will do. Don't you worry, kid.
That's being the intro.
Absolutely not. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 144, I believe, of the Knowing... Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that's right. Of the Knowing Wheel podcast. And we are here once again. I'm introducing this video because my colleague, Matthew, is feeling under the weather, which is a bit rough for him, but we move. And yeah, how are you doing today, Matt?
I feel like death, Jamie. It's no other way of describing it to you. I don't know why I got called Matthew for a change, but I'm liking the formality of the show.
Absolutely. And we're here to preview, of course, the Brazilian Grand Prix. But before that, if you are watching this on Matt's main channel, as of 3 races time, that's crazy, 2024, this podcast will be moving solely to its own YouTube channel, Knowing Wheel, which you can find linked in the description. And so if you want to watch the podcast next year, you'll have to do it over there. So please go and subscribe now. We're trying to beat my own personal YouTube channel, which hasn't been uploaded on in 2.5 years. I can't be bothered to go and check, but we're going to say we're catching up. So yeah, thank you for the support over there on the podcast channel. And yeah, please go and subscribe if you're watching on the main. But we will get straight into it. And Brazil this weekend, another sprint race, which we were talking pre-show. We're not hugely fans of the frequency of sprint races towards the end of the season. But yeah, how are we feeling about the Friday quali, Saturday sprint day, and Sunday Grand Prix?
Well, I completely forgot it was Friday qualifying, first of all, again, so thank you for that reminder.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, we spoke about this pre-show. We don't mind. Like, we understand sprint races aren't exactly a necessary evil, but kind of are now in Formula 1. We don't hate them, but can we spread them out a little bit more evenly next year, F1, please? Because 3 and 4 Grand Prix is too much. The podcast can't cope.
Especially when it's at the back end of quite a dead season.
Yes.
It's just like, we can barely be bothered watching Grand Prix at the minute because we know Verstappen's going to win by lap 2. So the fact we've got 3 extra races shoved in there for Verstappen to win, it's like, great. Although Piastri did win the most recent sprint race, didn't he, in Qatar?
No, Kota.
No, it wasn't. No, Kota. I'm forgetting which is which now.
Oh, it's so bad, isn't it? I mean, it is effectively, obviously, because they're 1/3 Grand Prix distance, effectively we've had an extra Grand Prix thrown in inside the space of the last month. So it means we've had 5 Grand Prix in 5 weeks, it feels like, plus all these extra qualifying sessions and all this, that and the other. But yeah, obviously, as Jamie mentioned, the fact that obviously Verstappen won the title at the start of these 3 sprint weekends, it does just feel a little bit like busy work, doesn't it, at the moment? Like, I'm not saying, of course, because don't get me wrong, obviously I still enjoy watching them. But it is kind of that thing of, when I see my grandparents on a Friday, bless them, and they go, they racing this weekend. And last week I went, this weekend we've actually got a normal race. And they were like, wow. And I went, do I really feel that negatively towards them, that I'm happy that we're getting less Formula 1 action for a weekend for a change?
I guess it's just a bit mal-manageable, isn't it? But, yeah. And I think the problem you see in places like Kota, for instance, with the sprint race being pretty dead, it not only is it not entertaining in itself, really, it also just ruins the first stint, or arguably the full race distance, because the engineers have a full race, a third race, to work out what they're doing with the full race. So yeah, it's interesting. I do hope they change the format. I feel like they will change the format. I have no idea what they could change it to, but just do something a bit mad.
Well, we've discussed it before, haven't we? Sort of this whole sprint race. And the thing is, at the end of the day, it is a gimmick. Like, we all understand it's a gimmick, but Formula 1 don't want it to look like a gimmick.
No, not at all.
So we're kind of there in this horrible middle ground where, obviously, understandably, the teams are taking it very seriously, as they should be. But it's a gimmick thrown in for entertainment, yet it's not very entertaining, because effectively it ruins the main event, which should be the important bit. I still think they either need to... I reckon absolutely the first way to go with it is it becomes a separate championship. At the end of a season, you have a sprint race champion. Won't obviously count as an official Formula 1 World Championship. Can't have Max having, 5 now already. But
wouldn't Bottas have won it in 21?
I believe so. Rather staggeringly.
Outrageous.
Bottas would be a world champion, but he would also be a world champion with 7 points to his name.
Yeah.
But make it its own championship and make it a bit more crazy.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of 1x1 qualifying in championship order.
Yeah, in actual championship order. Yeah.
Yeah, which only gets screwed over if it starts raining halfway through.
Or, on the contrary, if it stops raining halfway through.
Yeah, that'd be very funny. You get not Liam Lawson. He wouldn't come back into a seat. But who is it? Logan Sargent, that's the one, on pole position.
We'd love to see it. But I mean, yeah, kind of the best example we've got of that, I think, was 2002. I want to say the French Grand Prix, which is an absolute throwback. But I left both Minardis on the front row of the grid after first qualifying. They got screwed over in the second qualifying. We won't talk about that. And then Jos Verstappen didn't have enough fuel anyway. But it could have been quite interesting. Because don't get me wrong, I think in a 6-race championship, looking at it this year, have we had any qualifying sessions that were changeable? Sprint qualifying sessions that were changeable conditions? I don't believe we have we? Belgium
Austria.
Belgium qualifying was, the Austrian sprint race was, if I remember correctly. So even if you've only got 6 or 7 sprint races, it's not a bad thing to have one
of them
that's quite crazy. But that's kind of the point of it anyway. It's like MotoGP, for example, this year. I was speaking to someone who's a big MotoGP fan, and he's kind of said, because they do it every race weekend. And he kind of said, the riders hated it at the start of the year, but then they've kind of embraced it. But it's also because MotoGP is far more action-packed in Formula 1.
Yeah, you don't need to try hard to get overtakes in MotoGP.
That's okay. I know what you mean, but I think not trying hard on a MotoGP
bike
is,
the rules don't need to be bent to create overtaking.
No, exactly.
Because it happens naturally, because the bikes are obviously so small.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea of the 1x1 quali in reverse order, because it kind of... Obviously, the teams would never agree to do reverse grids by championship order, because it's just too wild. I think the idea of doing the 1x1 quali kind of... It naturally pushes reverse grids, or some element of giving the bottom teams an advantage in quali, without it being super gimmicky.
Well, it's what Formula E does, or did, I believe, for quite a few seasons, and it was kind of felt like it was a fair enough balance that the worst teams, of course, because Formula E is a lot more Formula 1 now is very homologated, actually. So the worst teams had a small enough advantage, but it was felt like at most venues it was enough that the drivers can make a difference. And that's kind of what you want, isn't it, from this?
Yeah. And it's also that idea of one-shot quali, which is great whenever we have that in F1. So
yeah, it gives every team more time on TV.
Yeah.
Because effectively, obviously, you get one... So obviously, what basically, how one-shot quali used to work was obviously driver goes out, starts their lap, and after they've started their lap, obviously the next driver goes out. So obviously they're trundling around as the driver's completing their fast lap. Effectively, each car probably gets about a lap and a half of TV time, which is well worth it. Well worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like everyone wins. We should work for the FIA.
I think we should start a coup and take over the FIA. I reckon maybe. We take the FIA by force. We're going to fix Formula 1, ladies and gentlemen. Drop us a follow if you want us to fix Formula 1. But anyway,
that was a bit of a rant about sprint races. But
we've done a good rant, yeah.
Yeah, Brazilian Grand Prix does have one this weekend. Of course, last year was a bit of a crazy qualifying on Friday night, and the rest of the weekend was quite mad as well. But of course, we had the changeable conditions, and Kevin Magnussen ended up on pole position, or sprint pole back then. Was it real pole? I guess it was real pole.
I think technically it didn't count as real pole, but yeah.
And then it all fell apart from there
because he got taken out on lap 1.
Of the real race.
Of the race,
Points or a point, I think, in the sprint race. And obviously George Russell got his first, and as of right now, only Formula 1 win in both the sprint and the GP. So, yeah, Lewis Hamilton made it Mercedes 1-2, which, if he hadn't crashed into Max Verstappen, he would have won the race.
Max crashed into him. We spoke about it at the time, but yes.
And then, it was a Red Bull off weekend. Could we see it again? 6th and 7th place behind Alonso's Alpine.
I don't think... Because I think the thing was of course, that Brazil, for whatever reason, and I don't know how many times we say this on the show, but we are not aerodynamicists or anything like that. Brazil last year suited the Mercedes zero side pod concept for whatever reason. I'm not even convinced to this day Mercedes really know why exactly.
Well, they got fooled into
that. Exactly. They thought, well, we got a chance now with this package, and obviously it didn't quite work out for them.
They don't race at Interlagos every week. So.
No, exactly. I'm not convinced. I think Mercedes might be second best, and I think they might be close to Red Bull, but I'm not convinced it'll be close enough. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, 2 fun little stats for you, Jamie. Of course, Brazil is still the only track to have hosted a sprint race every year. It does actually reliably give a decent sprint race so far.
Yeah.
It's also a track that Max Verstappen has never won at.
That's not true.
Is he not? I didn't think he's ever... Oh, no, he won in 2019, didn't he? Sorry, ignore me. That's a useless stat then, isn't it?
He also would have won in 2018 if Ocon hadn't taken it out.
No, he took himself out on Ocon's front end, but yeah.
2019, he mugged off Lewis twice in the race.
What, like Lewis in 2021?
Well, nice engine. Nice rear wing illegal. Lewis is used to racing with a legal car now, so...
Fair enough, okay. Right, okay.
Yes. But this, actually, speaking of just how ridiculous Red Bull are, they've only lost 1 race since losing this race last year.
Yeah, mad, isn't it? And a sprint race.
Which is insane.
In the process.
And a sprint race.
Yeah. They've only lost the Singapore Grand Prix since not winning. And the fact that Ferrari had... Oh, no, Ferrari won in Singapore, didn't they? The fact that Ferrari had 1 win in like 18 months is...
Mercedes have had 1 in 2 years.
You're mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad.
Crazy stuff. But we'll go into a bit of news.
Let's talk about the rumours, Jamie. Let's get our clickbait in, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. So, I can't remember the guy's name. Was it...
Alberto Fabrega or something, I believe?
Yes. Very Mexican-sounding name.
Sorry? That's us cancelled.
Yeah,
thanks,
sorry.
Jamie.
Not going to Mexico anymore. As if I ever was. But, he is a obviously Mexican journalist. Big
is he
fan
Mexican?
Of Sergio Perez. I'm pretty
I don't
actually
genuinely believe he's Mexican.
Oh dear.
Let me keep talking. I'll have a look.
Well, regardless, he's either a fan of Perez or Alonso. I'm going to say, just to cover my bases. And he tweeted
Spanish.
after he is Spanish.
Oh, you're so cancelled.
Great.
He's also listed on Google as a YouTuber, which is quite staggering.
Oh really? Wow.
Because I know he's on the F1 YouTube channel, but I wouldn't exactly call him a YouTuber.
Well, there you go. YouTube personality.
Keep digging a hole.
Fabrega. He tweeted after the Mexican Grand Prix in Spanish something like, "I really hope the paddock rumor I've heard isn't true," with a sad crying emoji. So he obviously hasn't told any more than that, but there's a lot of whispers. Oh dear. Why has Matt just left? Well... He's back. We're good to go. What happened there?
Let's just say I was getting a lot of Discord notifications from somewhere else, so I quit Discord and forgot we were on it.
Well, that's a disaster.
Oopsie daisy. Carry on with your point. Sorry, Jamie.
I will carry on. Matt just left Discord if you didn't hear the notification in my ears. So there's a lot of rumours flying around the Twitter and the F1 paddock at the minute. Some of these include Lawrence Stroll to sell Aston Martin, which seems the most reasonable to me out of any of the rumours. Actually, no, it doesn't. The most reasonable one is Ricciardo, after a very strong race in Mexico, could be going to Red Bull Racing for next season, which we kind of have known since Hungary. With Perez doing very badly, of course. The most wild one, which would be very funny, is kind of encapsulated with the Stroll saying Aston Martin and Alonso becoming frustrated with Aston Martin. Could Alonso go to Red Bull? The super team, Max and Alonso.
I can't help but feel this would be a fantastic podcast to do 3 years from now of how Fernando Alonso killed Red Bull and Max Verstappen from the inside. Alonso has such a tendency, because don't get me wrong, Christian Horner has always had a bit of a man crush on Fernando Alonso. It's been clear, and there's been time and time again where they've had conversations, I think it was 2012, there were talks about him replacing Mark Webber.
They tried to get him in.
2008, they tried to get him there as well. I can't help but feel that if I was Max Verstappen and I kind of rule that roost, one of two things would happen. Either Alonso would expose just how one-sided that team really is in terms of how much support is given to Max over any other driver, and whether there's something else behind the scenes of maybe, they get a slightly better engine, or this, that, or the other. Not saying it's definitely true, but I feel like the only way we'd find that out is if it was Alonso that went there. Because let's be fair, he would not keep quiet if he felt he was at any kind of a disadvantage to a teammate. Or, as we've mentioned before, of course, Verstappen, we still have this little thing that Alonso said all those years ago about Sebastian Vettel. Can he do it at a Ferrari? Can he do it at a McLaren or a Mercedes? This, that, and the other. Could Alonso potentially be a bit of a threat to Max? Which seems alarming because he's in his early 40s. But could it happen?
I mean, I think the media would say it could happen, since at the start of the season they were saying Perez could be a threat to Max. So I would love to see it, just to see what happened.
I think it would be the downfall of Red Bull, or Max Verstappen, or both.
I do think Alonso would, say in a 20-race season, obviously there's more than that, but I think if Verstappen is winning 10 races, Alonso is probably winning 5. I think he would be that close. I think Max would edge it, but Alonso is obviously way better than Perez, in my opinion. I think Alonso would certainly win races. I think Verstappen would just about win the title. But then, equally, Verstappen's never had to deal with a difficult teammate. So if Alonso obviously has a number of times, so Alonso might have that mental advantage of Max says he's really unflustered, says nothing gets to him, but I don't
think any of us believe that, though.
We saw in 21 it kind of does. He just got away with it a little bit at the end.
A little bit. He got completely carried over the finish line.
Well, Lewis shouldn't have crashed him out in Silverstone, should he? So
right, okay, and Max shouldn't have crashed Lewis out of Monza.
Lewis should have left space.
I'll behave.
But even so, I think Alonso in a title battle against your teammate obviously has that experience of doing it in 07 and doing it in, was that it? I guess.
I believe so, yeah.
I guess 05 at the first race, Fisichella won. So
I'll behave.
So yeah, I would love it if Alonso went to Red Bull, just for the chaos it would cause.
I mean, it would be a fantastic storyline, and I genuinely reckon, because say for example we still had a Bernie Ecclestone in charge, and let's be fair, with the recent news articles, he's not exactly averse from a little bit of corruption, is he? With how dead 2022 has been, it would not surprise me if Bernie, if he was, 2023, it would not surprise me if Bernie might have, paid Red Bull a little bit of money on the side to have Alonso in the car next year for the absolute storyline.
Yeah, it would be one of the greatest lineups of all time. I have no doubt about that.
I think it would explode spectacularly.
I think it also would,
but
probably.
I don't genuinely know who would come off worse. Because, as we've just mentioned as well, when we look back at the end of 2021, Verstappen had... You can't really argue against it here. I know you're going to try to, but you can't really argue against it here. Verstappen, after Mexico, completely imploded.
Yeah.
Qatar obviously got that penalty, was nowhere near Lewis. Qatar, everyone forgets about 2021.
Yeah.
It was such a dead race.
It was
the only thing they had was Alonso got a podium for Alpine.
Yeah.
Brazil, he completely imploded.
Yeah, that was shocking.
It was a disastrous drive by Max in the end. Obviously, yes, Lewis had the extra power and all this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But Max was choking.
He was fighting a losing battle against that.
He was fighting an uphill battle, and he was fighting it badly, not strategically. Qatar, say what you
Saudi
want
Arabia.
about... Saudi Arabia. Say what you want about the brake check, whether Lewis should have got round him or not. Max had completely lost his head. He threw it away on Saturday, was given an absolute lifeline on Sunday because of the red flag, should never have been in that position in the first place, and then spent the rest of the afternoon trying to take Lewis out. He'd completely lost his cool. Abu Dhabi, he had no answer for him. Safety car completely saved him. We can both agree on that. And, not saying Max shouldn't have won that race, because he did exactly what he was always going to. He's a Formula 1 driver at the end of the day. If you're given the chance to get a cheap win, you take it. You're a racing driver. That's completely fine. Whenever we talk about the end of 2021, Abu Dhabi specifically, I don't hold anything against Max, because he did what any driver would do.
He did nothing wrong, yeah.
It was the whole, force behind him that, of course,
No, I agree with that. But Max obviously deserved that title, in my mind. They both did.
They both deserve that title. And if you look at those last four races, Max was not driving. You can tell. For how much he likes to talk about how he doesn't get flustered and this, that, and the other, he, with 10 laps to go of Abu Dhabi, was a beaten man. You cannot argue against it.
And I do think Alonso has the potential to potentially get that out of him.
Alonso has that potential, exactly.
Not that it will happen, because it's all pie in the sky.
Alonso
but it would be great.
Would have that potential to... Max might win a few races early on. Alonso beats him a couple of times. They have an incident. Alonso says this, that, or the other in the media. Adrian Newey sides Alonso's way once, or Christian Horner sides Alonso's way once. Max goes for an optimistic move somewhere. They collide again. Team momentum starts shifting. It would be a fantastic storyline. But it's not going to happen.
Third title after 17 years. That'd be great.
Yeah, well, they implode and Lewis takes it from both of them, like 07.
George would, but yeah.
Oh, behave. Where's George in the championship? Sorry, 9th?
Yeah.
All right.
Something like that. He's something like that, isn't he? Crazy. But we'll move on from Alonso. And, well, actually, not really. We'll go to his teammate just across the stable, Lance Stroll. If his dad, Lawrence, sells Aston Martin to whoever is the highest bidder...
Saudi
Arabia, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who do they keep Stroll? Simply is what I want to ask.
So,
Lance Stroll.
I've been thinking about this a little bit over the last couple of days. It would not surprise me if, in this Saudi Wealth Fund contract, if obviously it goes to them, whether there was something put in that Stroll retains his seat for 2024. However, I believe as soon as 2024 is up, he'd be out the door, and if this did happen, I would argue that next season would be Stroll's worst ever season in Formula 1.
He would just check out completely.
I think he would be absolutely exposed as, a pretty mediocre at best driver. The fact he's had 7 seasons now in Formula 1 should never happen. People go, oh, but he's had a pole position, or he's done this, that, and the other. Not good enough.
That Racing Point 2020, Max would have won the title. No, he wouldn't have. He would have won more than one race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I don't know. Obviously, we think Tsunoda's earmarked for that seat.
But, of course, would the Saudi Wealth Fund then change the Honda deal?
I don't think so. Where are they going to get an engine from?
Mercedes? They can get an engine from wherever they like. They're going to be paying any money they ever wanted to. I don't know if it falls under the budget cap, actually, engine contracts. I don't believe so. Otherwise, teams would be given a ridiculous advantage for not having to buy an engine off someone else.
Yeah, it probably doesn't, actually. But I think that's set in stone, so it'd be quite hard to worm out of now. So
Saudi money, mate. Saudi money is nothing.
Yeah. It's true. They just bought a World Cup in 34. So, yeah. I don't know. Stroll, his attitude to the media and F1 generally is shambolic at the minute. So, I don't know. I kind of think he knows something about maybe his dad selling the team.
Time's ticking, Sir Lance.
Ricciardo to Red Bull, we've kind of spoke about last week in the podcast.
That's the one that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely one, which is a shame. I think if Perez finishes second in the championship, he'll keep it. I think if Lewis beats Perez, he won't.
I think Perez might keep that seat anyway into the new year. Ricciardo has one good race early on, not quite like a Gasly fourth in Bahrain a couple of years ago or something like that. They'll be looking for one excuse early next year to swap him over ASAP, and I can't imagine Perez would go to AlphaTauri.
No, same. I kind of think they would just do it. If they wanted to do that, they'd do it over the winter, though, just to give Ricciardo a chance to bed in at Red Bull again.
There's probably a big payout on Perez's contract that he starts next year. That probably diminishes massively after he's stepped foot in that car for one Grand Prix.
But if Red Bull, do they need the money? I don't know. We shall move on.
I'm not convinced it's about whether they need the money. It's about whether they'd give Checo the money. Might be the bigger issue. Because let's be fair, Ricciardo isn't going to beat Max. He just isn't. But he's fantastic. The way I see this going is either he sits there as the number 2 for 4 or 5 more years and then calls it quits. Had to finish a runner-up in a couple of seasons. 2026 race come around and he absolutely gets the floor wiped with him by other teams.
Yeah.
Or he goes back to Red Bull next year, has a pretty disappointing campaign, and then retires for good.
Potentially. Yeah. It's a little bit up in the air. I think, they don't really want... Obviously, Lando Norris is going to get that seat at some point in his career. Of that, I have no doubt. But, yeah,
what
it's kind of like a stopgap.
Good?
If McLaren come good, then maybe
They've just got their new wind tunnels finished.
But I just feel like McLaren are very oscillatory. They just do the same thing every year. Turn up with a shocking car, make it really good, and then forget to build the next year's car.
In the last couple of years, let's be fair, they've been a pretty dominant team throughout Formula 1. They've always got back to the top prior to now.
Yeah, I guess so. We could see. We shall see. But, yeah. Ricciardo, to me, does feel like a stopgap. He won't do any more than Perez is doing, but he might just accept it more.
Yeah, he might sell more shirts, I think, is the big thing, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. We'll move on to just a quick question. Do we think Verstappen is going to win the rest of the races?
Well, we got Brazil, Vegas, and Abu Dhabi, plus Brazil sprint. I guess if I say yes, that means I've got to lock it in as my predictions for the next 3 weeks. I think he will.
I get this weird feeling. I was talking about pre-show to Matt. I just think Vegas is going to be an absolute farce, and it'll be insanely good.
Scripted good.
Scripted good. It'll be like Saudi 21.
Are we going to go on a limb now and say 2 weeks before the race is even being hosted, there's going to be a red flag inside the last 10 laps?
There'll be a red flag at some point in the race.
No, but wait, are we talking script? Are we talking script here, Jamie?
I think they'll look for any excuse. I don't want to say they'll blow up a car. But
I don't think they'll blow up a car. I think that's quite risky.
That someone will throw like a banana skin on track or something, and then they'll call a red flag out.
I'm going to go out on a limb now. We're going to take Formula 1 corruption on. There is going to be a red flag inside the last 13 laps of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Get it clipped, ladies and gentlemen.
Vegas will be insane. I think I just get the feeling it'll be like Jeddah 21, where there's just absolute carnage and chaos, and it could be race of the season.
It doesn't quite invite the same carnage and chaos that Jeddah does, though. I think that's... Have you ever driven the track on the F1 game?
I actually haven't. I haven't had a game since then.
It's not a particularly technical track in the same way, as in most of the corners are very low speed.
So it's harder to have really high speed incidents, which is kind of what Jeddah 21
Jeddah's basically set up for, is having a 190 mile an hour horror crash into every year.
Into a concrete wall.
They were pretty good with the walls, to be fair, around most of the track. It was just Mick found places to crash that no one else could.
Yeah, it's true. Yes, I think that's... I think Max won't win in Vegas, but he will win the others.
Interesting.
That's my call. So we'll get back to Brazil, and I'm going to ask you your quiz question for today.
Oh no, I'm not well enough for a quiz, Jamie.
You're not well enough at all. Brazil, as a nation, has the third most wins in Formula 1.
It does. It has less than Lewis Hamilton, though, I believe.
It does have less than Lewis Hamilton.
Which is mad.
101 to 103. So, yes, I'm going to ask you... we're going to widen the parameters a little bit and talk about South America as a continent.
Oh, no.
But you have to name me all of the winners from South America.
Well, I'm not going to time you. Before you start, I was going to say, Helmut Marko would say Sergio Perez right now. But that's not true. You're not going to time me.
Actually, no, I will time you.
How many answers are there?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 from Brazil.
Okay.
There's 3 from Argentina.
Oh God.
There is, and 1 from a different 2 nations, which I won't say because they're easy. You've got a minute and a half.
Okay.
1 each from another 2 nations. The start now.
Senna,
a minute and a half.
Piqué, Fittipaldi, Barrichello, Massa, and last Brazilian winner. We'll go back to that. Juan Manuel Fangio.
Yep.
There was 1 from South America. I've got 6 straight out the gate, really strong.
Yeah.
Brazilian winners in Formula 1.
So you got 1 Brazilian left.
Yeah.
And he only has 1 race win.
Yeah, I know. It's a real... And was it 90s or early 2000s?
No.
No, okay. I'm not getting that. Is it more recent than then?
The rest of these, there's 1... I guess there's 2 in this millennium.
In this millennium?
Not Brazil, you've got whole South America.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Who else has raced from South America recently? Oh, I'm going to kick myself for this, aren't I?
You actually are. You've got 30 seconds left. I'll give you the name.
Oh, Pastor Maldonado.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take him straight off the bat. Give me the nation of the other one.
Colombia.
Wait, it was... Oh, Juan Pablo Montoya, of course.
Yes. And then 2 Argentinians and a Brazilian left. You will know at least 2 of them.
Yeah, I know I will. That's what's annoying me.
You got 7 seconds.
It's not Reutemann, is it?
Yes, it is Reutemann.
Oh,
12 race wins. Oh, your time's up.
Okay.
He was the Argentine, but yes, it was. Well done. You got almost all of them.
I'll take
the other
that.
2, they're quite hard. The only reason I know 1 of them is because the circuit's
Can you
named after
give
him.
me the... Jose Carlos Pache or Pedro Rodriguez? Yeah.
He's Mexican.
Yeah, he is Mexican.
So you did
I
do
am
a
Helmut Marko. Yeah, apparently. Actually, to be fair, we've both been a Helmut Marko today. You said a Spanish guy is Mexican.
Yes, it's true. So Carlos Pache was the last Brazilian.
Yeah.
And the other one I think is 50s Argentine. So Jose Froilan Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah. He was really fat, wasn't he, I believe? No, if you have a look at him, I swear, if I'm thinking
2
of...
race wins.
Froilan Gonzalez, he was like a proper...
Oh, wow.
Brick
he looks like a mafia
shithouse.
boss.
Exactly, yeah. He raced for fun and then had a Big Mac on the way home afterwards.
2 wins, 15 podiums in 26 entries. That's not bad.
I'm so sorry, Jose Froilan Gonzalez.
Yeah, I mean, he's dead, so...
Okay.
He
won't mind. His family might. Perhaps if we've got any of the Jose Gonzalez's are big fans of the podcast, then I do apologise.
Who knows? I think we've got predictions to do.
I think we do. What the scores on the doors? I think I'm 3 behind you, aren't I?
I'm 3 ahead, indeed. So we've got a sprint race this week,
so 8 points up for grabs. 10 points up for grabs, even.
We don't do sprint quali. So you're going to go first.
I get to go first. Max, because I'm boring.
Let's check the weather.
Lewis and Lando. Double British podium. No, actually, sorry, we will go Lewis Lando.
It's not going to rain. It might rain Friday evening, but it's not going to rain Saturday, Sunday.
I've locked in my predictions, Jamie.
Pole position. Tempting to say Nico Hülkenberg, as he's done it before, but I will not.
You had to get that in there, didn't you? He's not even the most recent Haas driver to get a pole at thingy.
At Interlagos, no. I'll go Max Verstappen on pole.
Actually, I would be intrigued to know how many times in Formula 1 history a team has gone to a Grand Prix where both their drivers have only taken pole at that race. It might be the most convoluted stat ever.
That's a very convoluted stat.
But I would be intrigued to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Jarno Trulli maybe would have been somebody doing that. No, he got pole everywhere, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a good driver. No, did he? He only ever won at Monaco, didn't he? Sorry.
Yeah, he got a couple of poles. I will go... I feel like every week I'm predicting Norris to win a sprint race. I'm going to do it anyway. Norris to win the sprint. Why not?
Okay.
Max to win the Grand Prix.
Who's getting pole?
Max.
Okay.
Norris to win the sprint. Podium will be Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Charles Leclerc.
Okay, so we've both got Lando on the podium, but in different positions.
Yes.
But we're both saying
I think he's got to be. If he has a clean race, he'll be on the podium, basically, is the deal right now, isn't it?
Yeah, so. It feels like it. But he's going to win the sprint, according to Jamie183.
Yes.
Which we love to hear. Have we got anything else to add, Jamie?
Have we?
Because you're doing the outro.
I don't think we have. All good.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave it. This is my own YouTube outro. This is really bizarre. I've not done this in about 3 years.
Go on, Jamie. Throw it back for us.
I've lost my flow now. It's all over. Don't forget, subscribe to the podcast, to YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, whatever you want to do. Hope you enjoyed. Brazil will be back on Monday or Tuesday, for the review of the race where Lando Norris has won his first sprint race in Formula 1. And yes, goodbye from me and goodbye from Matt. You're not going to say bye? Wow, that was like pointless.